Testing about any new Copenhagen deal, but over whether rich nations will stick to the old Kyoto Treaty of 1997. From Copenhagen, our science editor Lawrence McGinty reports.
Africa is already at the sharp end of climate change, as I discovered when I visited Chad, where fishermen are struggling as the lake called Chad shrinks and the deserts advance across the few tarmac roads in the country. But today, Africa was at the sharp end at Copenhagen as they boycotted the official talks, winning vociferous support, but risking the collapse of the whole negotiating process.
Africans are dying, Africans are suffering. The impact of climate change on Africa is significant. IPCCs have actually revealed that, and Africa is one of the vulnerable continents. If we don't make a stand now, then the next question is what's next?
What's behind the African boycott is the fear that the rich countries want to ditch the Kyoto Protocol, signed a decade ago. That legally binds rich countries, but not the US or China, to cut their carbon dioxide emissions. African nations fear this meeting will produce only a weak political statement, which won't bind anyone.
5 hours later, the conference was back in full swing. A series of working groups was set up to look at the issues raised by the African bloc. But there's no guarantee they'll come up with a solution, and an awful lot of time has been wasted.
Already, Climate Change Minister Ed Miliband, Britain's negotiator, had lamented the lack of progress in Copenhagen. Now, he's exasperated.
We're close to midnight at the climate change talks here in Copenhagen. We've wasted a day, frankly. We need to get on with it because leaders will soon be arriving, and unless we can make further progress, there won't be a deal for them to do.
Another stumbling block that hasn't yet been dismantled are the so-called small island states, countries like the Maldives. Their very existence is threatened by rising sea levels caused by global warming, and they want even bigger cuts in CO2 emissions. Yet another headache for Gordon Brown when he arrives tomorrow.
So, Lawrence, things aren't going smoothly, and Gordon Brown has brought forward his trip to Copenhagen by 48 hours. Can he bring a deal closer?
Well, he will, for example, be meeting some of those small island states when he gets here. And we're told that he's coming here to talk numbers, and two numbers in particular. One, how much money the rich countries are willing to give to the poor countries to help them to fight climate change. $10 billion a year for the next 3 years or so has already more or less been agreed. But beyond that, it could be much more. It could be, some people think, as much as $100 billion a year, and that's not been agreed. The second number he wants to talk about is how much the rich countries like Europe and the United States are going to cut their carbon dioxide emissions by. They'll have to go a lot further to convince the developing world that what they've got to offer from this conference is good enough. They may be losing a legally binding treaty. If they've got more cash and bigger cuts, that could make up for it.
OK, Lawrence, thank you.